Welcome, Rangers, to this week's online Royal Rangers lesson. Commander Chris here. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to go ahead and join us today. Now, as we begin, before we start with this week's lesson, as usual, we'll go ahead and do this week's pledge. Now, in order to go ahead and do it this week, I did bring a helper. So please come up here, Junior Leader Zane Rock.
Today we're going to be doing the Christian flag pledge. Salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the Christian flag and to the Savior for whose kingdom it stands, one brotherhood, uniting all mankind in service and love.
Hey Rangers, we are on lesson 2, working toward our next Orange Bible Merit. We are in the book of 1 Kings, and today's lesson is on justice. Our key verse for today is found in 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 28. And it says this: When all Israel heard the verdict the king had given, they held the king in awe, because they saw that he had wisdom from God to administer justice. Hey Rangers, our story today is found in 1 Kings chapter 3, verses 16 through 28. And it reads, Now 2 prostitutes came to the king and stood before him. One of them said, Pardon me, my lord, this woman and I live in the same house, and I had a baby while she was there with me. The 3rd day after my child was born, this woman also had a baby. We were alone. There was no one in the house but the 2 of us. During the night, this woman's son died because she lay on him. So she got up in the middle of the night and took my son from my side while your servant was asleep. She put him by her breast and put her dead son by my breast. The next morning, I got up to nurse my son, and he was dead. But when I looked at him closely in the morning light, I saw that it wasn't my son I had born. The other woman said, No, the living one is my son, the dead one is yours. But the first one insisted, No, the dead one is yours, the living one is mine. And so they argued before the king. The king said, This one says, My son is alive and your son is dead, while that one says, No, your son is dead and mine is alive. Then the king said, Bring me a sword. So they brought a sword for the king. He then gave an order, Cut the living child in 2 and give half to one and half to the other. The woman whose son was alive was deeply moved out of love for her son and said to the king, Please, my lord, give her the living baby. Don't kill him. But the other said, Neither I nor you shall have him. Cut him in 2. Then the king gave his ruling. Give the living baby to the first woman. Do not kill him. She is his mother. When all Israel heard the verdict the king had given, they held the king in awe, because they saw that he had wisdom from God to administer justice. Have you ever been accused of something that you did not do? Obviously, it would have been something bad, because the person who actually did it wasn't taking credit for it. They wanted to pass the blame on to someone else. When you were accused, who did you have to go to? Your mom, your dad, maybe the principal at school, maybe one of your Royal Ranger leaders. But how did they respond? Did they immediately get you in trouble? Or did they listen to both sides of the story and then decide what was going on? A fair and just judge always listens to both sides of an argument. He will then use wisdom to decide what the truth is and who, if anyone, is lying. And this is what King Solomon did. When the 2 women came before him, he listened to both sides of the argument. Then he watched their actions. He saw the love that the real mother had for this child. And he saw the hate and the anger that the woman whose son had really died had for this living child. It was after he saw their actions that he was able to rule and judge wisely. Like Solomon, God is a just judge. He's a way better judge than Solomon ever was, and he's a better judge than anyone will ever be. God is the perfect, just judge. Because God doesn't just judge on our actions like Solomon did or anyone else. He judges on our heart and the intentions of our heart. When we turn our heart toward God, He knows. And when our heart is turned away from God, He knows that too. We need to make sure that our heart is continually turning toward the things of God. We want to have the heart of God, letting Jesus forgive us of our sins, and then continuously pursuing Jesus so that we have a pure heart. When we have a pure heart, we begin to act differently. When our heart is turned toward God, guess what, guys? Our heart begins to become more like God's heart. We act differently. We treat people like God treats them. We show love. We help others in need. We are kind and we're thoughtful and respectful. You know, when we act like this, there's only good things for God to judge. Guys, I'm going to ask you a few questions about today's lesson. Question number 1. What were the women in the Bible text today fighting over? Question number 2. Who decided which woman was the baby's true or real mother? And question number 3. What can you do when you need to make a decision and you're not sure what the best choice is? Guys, answer those questions and email them to the email address below, canyonkids@canyonhills.com, and you'll get credit towards your Orange Bible Merit.
Hey there, guys. How's it going? I hope you guys are having a good week. Ranger Kids, I've been missing you guys. We're still working on our Tiger Badge. And for those of you that don't know, last week we started it. I hope you guys got your family puppets on. If you don't worry, go back on last week's. You can still catch it, download it. You guys, we're going to be refreshing the 4 goal points. Commander Chris went over it. We're just going to refresh it just so you guys can really get it in. Obviously, it means a lot to us. So the 4 points is 4 ways a boy grows. Mentally, physically, spiritually, and socially. So this achievement for the Tiger, there is work for it. This week, we're asking you guys to work on your task, and it is to pick up trash. I know it's hard. I know it's dirty, especially what's going on right now. Grab a glove, pick up the trash, let your mom and dad know that you'll get everything on the floor. So I need you guys to memorize Psalms 119, verse 105. And it goes, "Your word is a lamp for my feet and a light on my path." This is a very simple verse, you guys. All you have to do is memorize it, and then shoot, you guys have an opportunity of getting your nice little Tiger badge. So I hope you guys are working on your nature badge. We're just gonna go over it one more time just so you guys know what you guys have. We have physical, go outside, collect what you want. Spiritual, make sure somebody reads it or yourself, read Psalms 148. Mental, write it down, write what you did for us. And 4th, don't forget to send it into your email, you guys. Thanks again, see you guys soon.
Now this week, we're going to continue on with the Toolcraft Merit. Now remember, as we go ahead and do the Toolcraft Merit, parental supervision is required. We want to make sure that you guys are safely handling the tools with your parents' permission. So last week, we talked about common tool identification, tools that we would find around our house, tools such as hammer or a screwdriver. We also talked about the 3 laws of tool safety. Now, can any of you tell me what those 3 laws were? Good, that's right. The first one was common sense, the second one was courtesy, and the third one was safety, right? Just common sense, making sure that we're using the tools properly, that we're not going ahead and playing with them. Tools are not meant to be played with. The second one was courtesy, making sure that when we are handing tools off from one another, that we're making sure we're both paying attention, saying thank you and you're welcome. So later, me and Zane will go ahead and demonstrate that for you. And the last one, right, was safety, making sure that we're using the tools properly, making sure that you're reading the instructions properly, making sure that you're using a screwdriver as a screwdriver, not necessarily as a hammer. We want to make sure that we're being safe when handling the tools. Now today, we're going to be talking about one of the most popular and useful tools when you go camping, and that's the pocket knife. Now below in the links, we have today's worksheet, which goes over the different components of a pocket knife. So at this point, pause the video, print off that worksheet, and as we continue, go ahead and fill it out. So did you print out that worksheet? Good. Now here we go as we discuss the different components of the pocket knife. The blade, the nail mark, false blade, the point, the edge, their bolster, holding pins, the handle, the lock, and the release button. It's so important that you guys understand and can identify the different components of a pocket knife in order to use it properly and safely. Now the next thing we want to go ahead and demonstrate is how to properly open and close a pocket knife so that you remain safe and don't by accident injure yourself. So I've brought this pocket knife to demonstrate. Now the way you go ahead and open it is make sure you have a firm grip on the handle. You want to use your thumb and forefinger to grab the back side of the blade because that's the part that's exposed and it's not sharp. You pull the blade out. That's how you open it. Now in order to close it, it's the same way, just in reverse. Make sure you're holding the back side of the blade with your 2 fingers and the handle with your other hand. Making sure that you're not holding the handle completely, covering the spot where the blade rests. Use your thumb and forefinger to simply close the blade. That's a way to make sure that you're handling it, opening and closing it safely. The last thing that we want to go ahead and discuss is how to hand off these tools to another person in a safe manner so that nobody gets injured. Now, in order to go ahead and demonstrate the proper way to go ahead and hand off a knife, we're once again going to bring out junior leader Zane Rock as we demonstrate how to safely hand a knife off to one another. The first knife we're going to demonstrate is the pocket knife. This is ideally the knife to hand off because the blade is retracted so nobody's going to get hurt. But you want to make sure that the person receiving the blade says thank you, and the person handing it off says you're welcome. Such as this.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The next blade I want to show you is a blade that can't retract, such as this. Ideally, it's in the sheath, and so you can still hand it off without the blade being exposed. You'll do it in much the same manner. So I'll hold it from the blade side, such as this.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, if you're handling a blade that does not have a sheath and the blade is exposed, you want to make sure you're handling it right so nobody gets injured. When you're handing it off, you want to hold the blade with the sharp side away from your hand. You hand it off like this.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That is the proper way and the safe way to hand a knife off to one another. Thank you, Zane, very much for your help. You may exit stage left. Thank you guys for joining us today as we went ahead and talked about one of the most useful tools for campouts and the proper and safe way to handle that tool. Now join us again next week as we continue on with the Tool Graph Merit. Thanks again, guys. Have a wonderful day.